Everybody, welcome to the stream. We are live. Great to see all of you in chat. Well, I've had a very long day of school, so I'm very tired, but I'm excited to see you all today and to be live with all of you here. Great to see you in chat, or Cario Zeta. If you are watching, let me know where you're watching from, how you're doing, who you support, because today is a fun stream. I do these streams every now and again because even though they're a bit controversial, they're quite fun to do. I think it's good for me to kind of articulate my opinions, but also good for you guys to kind of interact with me, discuss ideas, and see, where we will kind of collectively think as a group. So without further ado, let's jump into it. We're going to be doing an F1 tier list, and I want to be very clear. This is my opinion. If you don't agree, that's fine. We're going to go on everything because there's top 20 drivers, but the hope is that we can all kind of come to just a respectable discussion. I'll read kind of all of your thoughts in chat, and we'll kind of interact in that kind of in that way as we go along. And yeah, looking forward to getting right into it. Hopefully we have more of you joining. Great to see in chat, Dom, Eric, hopefully you're doing well. So without further ado, we're going to start, and just so you guys are aware, this will be a relatively in-depth stream. That doesn't mean that I'm going to be here all day, but it means that I'm going to go driver by driver and do some kind of deep, pretty good kind of analysis of them as drivers, of their abilities, their year so far, mistakes, and of course in chat. If you feel I've missed something, or if you feel that I've overlooked an important aspect of their year, then please let me know. And of course, as I'm going along, just kind of give me your thoughts, and also just, for fun, give me your ratings. We've got 5 categories here. Elite for those who have been pretty much perfect and who have, I think, maximized their performance, and the very good who have been very good, as you can see, as it says, but who I think could have maybe got a bit more of the car. The solid who haven't been amazing, but have still, I would say, done a decent job, who have done, I think, above the bare minimum, and the average of those who haven't had an amazing year, but I think have done just about what you'd expect from them. And the poor are those who haven't had a good year and who have really fallen short of expectations. I would say very quickly though, is that these kind of tiers are going to be based on performance and results. What I mean by that is, even if a driver has had good results, or sorry, if I say drivers had very good performances, if they don't have, I would say, enough points that I think they should have in their machinery, then I'll give them lower marks. So it's a combination of results and performance, so it's not either or, and hopefully we can all enjoy. Hello, yeah, mate. It's all based on this season, so it's not an all-time career ranking because that would be unfair, and also that would be, I think, a very long video. But it'll just be based on the season, and we're going to start with Haas drivers because they're kind of the most, kind of, I would say, well, because simply I want to go from worst to best, or at the very least, bottom in the standings to first. But also, guys, please in chat, for each driver I go for, give me your rating, and of course any reasons why, and your thoughts on their year so far. So thank you so much for watching, guys, so far. If you're new, please subscribe, and let's get into it. Our first driver is Nikita Mazupin. So guys, in chat, where would you put Nikita? This is an interesting one because a great teammate, Revitix, hopefully you're doing well. I think it's interesting with Mazepin because when the year began, the memes were incredibly intense, the Mazepin memes. And honestly, at one point on Discord, I had to ban the word Mazepin on my Discord because every second you would only hear Mazepin memes, which got a bit annoying. He's improved since then. He doesn't spin as much, but being brutally honest here, he's still F1's worst driver. And F1's a difficult sport, but I'm not going to compare Mazepin to me. I'm going to compare Mazepin to other F1 caliber drivers. And as it stands, Mazepin is poor. He's there mainly because of his money, and whilst he's not been completely useless, he I think beat Mick Schumacher in Silverstone. Mick has been far better, and as Revitix says in chat very accurately, even though he has a poor car, Mick, who's also a rookie, has been far better. So it's poor for Nikita. No, not much more to say. Yeah, I think that one's pretty simple. Dom, comment, Akari, thank you so much for getting involved. Juho, Zeta, we would agree that it's poor, and I think it's pretty simple there. It's poor. Akari, in some ways, yes, but at the same time, Mick has made so many mistakes. And even though they've got a bad car, Mazepin can at the very least try and beat Mick Schumacher. And apart from when Mick spins or has a crash in qualifying, generally, Mick, who's also a rookie, beats Mazepin. So to me, Mazepin's in poor. Moving on, Mick Schumacher. This is an interesting one, and guys, I'm curious to see where you put Mick. Because on paper, some would say good, or sorry, solid. But for me, the issue with Mick is he's against Mazepin. And I don't feel very comfortable putting him very high because his competition has been F1's worst driver. And of course, that's not his fault, but from a kind of purely objective analytical perspective, to rank him any higher or to rank him very high is difficult because his teammate isn't very good. And even though Mick is beating Nikita, could he beat, say, Ocon? Could Mick Schumacher beat even Russell or Kimi? I don't know. Sandra says Mick poor. Juho says poor, maybe. Aspect poor. Broccoli average. Personally, I would say Mick average. Yeah. I agree. Zeta and Hello. Hello. I would say average. I say average. For the following, he's had an okay season. In qualifying, he's faster than Mazupin, and in the race, he tends to beat Mazupin too. So in that regard, he's had an okay season. But my critiques are the following. Even if you beat Mazupin, it's not really an indictment that you're a good driver because, with all due respect, we don't know how good Mazupin is, but we know that he's one of F1's worst drivers, number one. And even besides that, let's be honest here, guys, Mick's had quite a few incidents. He spun it in FP3 Monaco, so he missed qualifying. France qualifying, he spun. Imola in the race, he spun. Like, of course, Mazepin has also spun, but in the context of the Formula 1 grid as a whole, Mick Schumacher isn't really proven it to being a quick driver, and he's made quite a few mistakes. Eric's average, Aspect average, Dom maximum average, F1 seems solid. I mean, you could argue that he's higher up because maybe, I don't know, he's a rookie, but to me, if you were in an AlphaTauri, for example, and we'll go on to Yuki and Gasly later, but if, say, he were against Gasly in the same car, he'd get beaten more, and he would look worse relatively. So I'm going to put him in average for now. Kimi Räikkönen, guys. Kimi Räikkönen in chat. First of all, thank you so much for interacting, and please continue, and let me know where you'd put Kimi. Because he's a funny one, because Kimi frustrates me. Because I feel as though if Kimi could qualify better, he'd have at least 10-12 points this year. And what I would say is, for both Alpha drivers, strategy has cost them points and has impacted their season negatively. So I don't want to say that Kimi would have more points with a better kind of strategy and with a bit more luck, maybe. And it's hard to say because whilst, of course, Williams had some luck along the way, they are comfortably ahead of the Alphas. So in that regard, I think that the Alphas deserve some criticism. Both drivers and the team. Thank you so much for the sub, J Doms. Thank you so much, mate. Guys, if you're new, please subscribe. I'll read some of your comments now. Zeta says Kimi's the average. Eric solid. Thick Counts average. Hello Hat average. Broccoli, Kimi is poor, but race is solid. And Broccoli, I think, mate, you've hit the nail on the head there. In the race, Kimi has got good pace. And you know, guys, what I would say is Alfa Romeo at many tracks have been the 7th best team. Go back and watch Bahrain. If Giovinazzi has a better pit stop, he probably finishes ahead of Stroll and gets points. Monaco, they were quick. Zandvoort, they were quick. Even in, the Alphas have been very quick all season. Even in Silverstone, Kimi qualified poorly, but in the race, he had great pace. And whilst Kimi is a good driver, I think that predominantly, the Alpha is a good car. So really, I can't put Kimi any higher than average. Thank you for the sub, Sandra. Thank you so much. But even though... People, that's a good question. This is based on the season. And thank you for the sub, Chris. This is based on this season, this year. And to me, even though Kimi has good race pace, and he has been a bit unlucky, he's got 6 points this year. And in the Alfa Romeo, he should have more than 6 points. Now, granted, the Williams duo have had some luck in Hungary, but ultimately, when it mattered most, they scored points. Ultimately, in Belgium, Russell had that qualifying, but even outside of that, Russell scoring points in Monza, again in Sochi. Kimi did score points in Sochi, which I think puts him in a better place. But the Alphas should be higher. I'm going to put you in average as well. And Giovinazzi, guys, again in chat, let me know where you'd put him, but I think it's similar to Kimi. And I think this is kind of my issue with Giovinazzi. He's not bad, but I have to be honest, guys, if he goes from F1, I won't really feel too sorry for him. Because ultimately, F1 is a cutthroat business. And if you aren't an elite driver, you are at risk, Unless you've got lots of money or lots of talent, you aren't guaranteed to be in F1. And Giovinazzi, with all due respect, in these, how many years? In these now 3 years in the sport, he's struggled to beat Kimi. I think even now, even this year, Kimi has better race pace than Giovinazzi. And whilst Kimi is obviously an F1 legend all time, don't forget, guys, both Alonso and Vettel beat Kimi pretty convincingly in the same car just, 4 or 5 years ago. And Kimi wouldn't have gotten much better. So to me, again, Giovinazzi average, Thickount says average, Zeta also average, Broccoli, Juho all agreeing. Now, guys, we're coming up now to George Russell, and I want to, as many of you as possible in chat, leaving below your comments on George, because I feel as though this will be a pretty divided one. Some will say elite, some solid. So, guys, in chat, let me know your thoughts. And Sandra, quickly back on Giovinazzi, I agree. I feel as though, in some ways, it's a bit too little, too late. And to me, even if he's just about beating Kimi, that isn't necessarily the best thing. But anyway, guys, I want to see all of your thoughts on Russell. Where would you put him? Elite, very good, solid. To me, Russell is very hard to place. Oh, whoops, sorry, guys. Russell is very hard to place. Extremely difficult. Almost impossible to... No, actually, that's a lie. I'm exaggerating. Russell's a tricky one to place. Not impossible, he's a tricky one. And I'm seeing your comments, and there's a lot of divide. So Hello Hat says very good. People are very good. Carmine, elite. Great screenshot shot again, Carmine. Sandro, very good. Treric, all saying very good. And you know what, guys, is what I'll say. Russell's had a very good year, and I'm going to put him in the very good category. He's beating Latifi again very consistently, and don't worry, we'll go on to Nicholas. He's gotten a podium as in a Williams, which of course, yes, the race wasn't a race, but still qualifying P2 in a Williams, and ultimately P2 is P2. What I would say is that Williams is not as bad as I think we sometimes perceive it to be. In the wet, it's clearly a top car, because as much as I rate Russell, qualifying P2 and then P3 in the wet, the car must be pretty well set up. And Latifi as well, in both Spa, but even in Sochi before he came into the pits due to his penalty, Latifi had great pace. So I do feel as though, in that regard, the Williams is a decent car. So in terms of his performances, he's been very good. I'm unsure to put him in elite purely because I feel as though Latifi isn't pushing him or isn't as good a representative. But I'm tempted to put him in elite because it's a combination of performance and result. And he's currently got, I think, 16 points or so, and he's right behind Yuki in the standings. And I think he's not too far off Lance Stroll either. So Callum says elite, Broccoli says elite. I'm not completely sure, but Revitix, I think you make a great point in chat. I think that his points finishes recently in more normal Grand Prix have been impressive, both in Sochi and Monza. Of course, Sochi was normal, but there were very few retirements. It was on merit. And chat Zeta says, I won't say elite, but I have to put him in good. And I think that's the thing. I think George could have had more points this year, for sure. I think his starts have cost him points. I'm going to put him in a very good for now. Thank you so much for the sub, Roma. Thank you so much. I'm torn. It's either very good or elite. At the end, guys, I might change a few of these. For now, I'm going to put him in very good. It's close, but I feel as though part of our perception of him is because of maybe we underestimate the car a bit, and Latifi isn't as good a competition to him. So it's between elite and very good. Actually, you know what? Just because of the podium, I'm going to put him in elite. You know what? Forget that. Even though I think on pure performance, maybe it's very good, just because of his mistakes. He has a podium and he's leading his team convincingly to P8 in the standings. So I put him in elite. And I put Latifi. Ooh, I'm actually, guys, in chat, I'm curious. First of all, thank you so much for watching so far. But in chat, let me know. Where would you put Latifi? I feel as though it'll be between, some say average, some solid. It's a tough one. Because I feel as though, I'll be honest, he's had good moments this year. Of course, in Hungary, there was some luck involved, but frankly, in F1, in every sport, there's always some degree of luck or kind of external circumstance that kind of influences things. And even though you can get lucky, you have to still, as a driver, capitalize. And Latifi did it at Hungary. Spa, again, my issue with Latifi is that, again, even though he did well in Spa to get that half point or whatever it was at that point, Russell qualified in P2. So even though Latifi's had his moments, he's still yet to qualify his teammate. And that's a terrible thing to me. And again, whilst I feel as though Russell is looking better because of how average Latifi is, I feel as though if Williams were a better car, say Williams... Actually, no, I'll put it this way. Say Russell and Latifi were in the Alpines. Russell would maybe have 40 points, and Latifi would have half that or so. So I think it'll be more obvious to see where Latifi's underperforming. So Eric says average, Thickount says the GOAT, shockingly. Jaloui solid, Zeta solid. Vipula average, and Vipula, I think you make a very good point. And thank you so much for getting involved. I feel as though maybe in 3 rounds, if he scores more points and if he outqualifies Russell, I could put him in the solid tier. Well, to be completely honest here, guys, he hasn't outqualified his teammate yet. Russell has more points, has to be solid. Sorry, average, has to be average. He is, I would say, impressive, and he is actually ahead of both Alpha drivers in the standings. But I do feel as though in terms of performance and results, with Kimi getting that, I think that average is fair. Average is fair. Alright, thank you so much for watching, guys. If you're new, please subscribe and hit that bell because I'll be going live every day. So when I'm live, hopefully I can see you all here. But thank you so much for watching. We're going to continue on now. And I want to see all of you in chat. Molly, I agree. It's average, I agree. In chat, let me all know. Let me all know. Sebastian Vettel. Sebastian, P1. Interesting. Aston Martin this year have had a lot of hype. They've been pretty meh, to be honest, this year as a team. They haven't been very good at all. I mean, I'd say, look, and this is interesting, guys. This is interesting. People are calling Aston the 7th best team, and I actually don't agree with that. I think that they're the 6th best alongside Alpine. Because in Bahrain, Imola, I say Aston Martin, Alpine evenly matched. Then you go to Portimao, Spain, Alpine faster. Baku, Monaco, Aston Martin faster. And then if you look at whether it was Sochi, whether it was Silverstone, you know, because of course Lance and Alonso were very close, and then I think Seb spun when he was fighting Alonso. In most tracks, I think, and even Monza, they've been very close. So I'd put the Astons as the 6th best team. You guys are saying solid, Vic, solid, thick counts, Juho, Eric, thank you so much for commenting. Vic says solid. Reverend, I think that we all agree. Some saying average. But Broccoli, I think, to be fair, I think that the best place to put Seb is in the solid tier. Of course, he's had his moments. He has had his moments. Of course, amazing race in Baku, and the unlucky kind of DSQ in Hungary. What I would still say to all those things is the following. RSTS had some very good moments. I feel as though I expect him to beat Stroll more convincingly in qualifying and in the race. He's had, as many of you are pointing out in chat, ups and downs. He's had mistakes here, mistakes there. And he's had a better year than last season in Ferrari. I think that we're still expecting a bit more. And in terms of his points, he's doing well and he's leading his team. But compared to Alonso and Ocon, who are kind of his direct rivals, not quite there. So again, some bad luck. But even if you were to give Seb those 18 points from Hungary, he'd still be behind Alonso. So I'm only saying that because he's had some good results, kind of up and down. And maybe he should have a few more points. So yeah, Molly saying solid. And Broccoli, mate, I think you make an amazing point there, as comment very kindly points out. Hello, I agree, but it's the same for Alpine. And I think that AlphaTauri are the 5th best team, but then the Alpines are kind of hit and miss with their performance, for sure. So that's what I would say, yes. I would say solid for Seb overall. And yeah, I agree. Yes, I agree, Revitix. And Molly, I agree. I think that Seb's highs have been high, but his average race hasn't been great. So, for example, I don't keep going to Alonso, but Alonso or Gasly on an average race get good points. Seb on an average race could be anywhere. So I feel as though that's the reason that for Seb it's a bit hit and miss. It's a bit here or there. But guys, now thank you so much by the way, for always interacting. I appreciate all of you in chat so much. Next up is, of course, his teammate Lance Stroll. So in chat, guys, please. Where would you rank Stroll this year? I think that I'm going to put him in solid. And what I would say is, even though I'm going to put Lance in solid too, I think that he's similar to Seb. I mean, that's pretty obvious. I think Seb's got more points, but if I'm being brutally honest here, guys, and this might be controversial to some people, Lance has been pretty much on par with Vettel this year. Even though Seb's got 11 more points, and as I said, Seb's highest high in Baku, P2, has given him that points advantage. But in terms of just overall pace, it's been close. Seb has the head-to-head in qualifying, but it's still always been a close advantage. What I would say is I expect Seb to improve more next year with more experience at the team. But Stroll's been okay this year. What I would say is Stroll's mark goes down because of some mistakes, but also, i.e. Baku qualifying, of course in the race was unlucky, but also in Sochi, squeezing out Seb, quite peculiar. Again, in Monza, squeezing out Seb, and that cost Aston big points, because if Seb just stays behind Lance, and Lance gives Seb room, Seb probably finishes P8, Alonso finishes P9, and Aston gains 6 points on their kind of championship rivals. So yeah, But yeah, the ready mate. First of all, it's great to see in chat. I agree. He's just solid overall. Molly, I agree. Lance kind of you don't really notice him much, even when he has say a P8 here, a P9 there. He's been okay. Vic says average. I think that I'm going to put that solid just because I think he's had some decent pace, a bit of bad luck. Ajali average to poor. I mean, in fairness, he has had some ups and downs. And guys, at the end, I might change a few of these around. But for now, I'm going to put him in solid tier. Now we get to some more kind of higher up ones. Vettel, I agree. I would say, you know what, Seto, I agree. Alejandro says poor. You know what? I think I'll leave him there for now, but at the very end, guys, I might make a few changes here and there. But for now, I'll put him at solid. Alright guys, in chat, Pierre Gasly, as you now kind of approach the kind of top half of the field, let me know where you'd all put Pierre. Juho says elite for sure, and I feel as though Pierre might divide some of these and might kind of cause some controversy. Broccoli says very good. I mean, I do think that Aston have had a better car than sometimes they've shown on track. I do agree. So some of you saying elite. I think Pierre had a very good year. When he doesn't have bad luck, Gasly's been pretty fantastic this year, to be honest. When he doesn't have bad luck, I mean, I might just quickly search up his results this year. Teln, it's great to see in chat. Elite, Vipula, elite. Eric, very good. Molly, very good. Sandro, Carmine, Vic, Noodle, Ready at the Ready, all saying very good. If I quickly check the standings for this season, guys, just very quickly, pretty much all of Gasly's non-points finishes are because of bad luck. If I can just quickly find them. Let's just quickly bear with me here. If we look at Gasly's points, Bahrain, contact with Ricciardo, unlucky. Points. Styria, Leclerc gives him a puncture, unlucky. Points, Britain, puncture, unlucky. Even though that's kind of in his control. Points. Italy can't start, and Russia, poor strategy, but also he maybe could have done more. But the point is, guys, when he hasn't had bad luck or things beyond his control making issues, he's done very well. Vipula, I agree. I think that his performances have been very good in terms of pushing the McLarens and the Ferraris. Hello Hat says elite. Alejandro says very good. And I think it's tricky because I think that a lot of you guys make great points. PS AlphaTauri, in fairness, is for sure the 5th best car. The AlphaTauri is faster than the Alpine and the Aston Martin. So in that regard, you expect him, or he should be kind of fighting for better points more consistently. With that said, I think he's done a very good job. He's led that team. Can I put him in elite? It's hard to say. I think when you look at the standings, he's where he should be, but I think he's missing that little crowning jewel for elite. Of course, he got that magical podium in Baku, but I think that for now, very good is fair. I might, to be fair, put George down to very good too, but for now, I'll leave him there. So I might make a few changes. Some saying elite, some saying, actually, you know what, if I put Gasly in very good, I have to put Russell in very good. I'm going to be kind of strict here, guys. I think that if Gasly's very good, which I think he is, then George can't be elite. So I think that is a bit fairer already, that kind of tier ranking. So I think Pierre, very good, very consistent, very few mistakes. Leading the team, maximizing results, and frankly having a very solid year. Building on a very good 2022. Sorry, 2022, not 2022. Anyway, guys. Yeah, I agree. They've got a very good car, and some of you guys in chat already saying it before I even asked. Bavika, Broccoli, thank you so much for being so active. And as I was gonna say, Tsunoda, where do we put Yuki? The man who, well, he's barely a man, he's very young, but the man who in Bahrain was getting all the love, was getting all the attention, and was hyped up massively. Well, you know what, guys? Before I give a rating, I'm going to defend Yuki as Noodle Fracture, Juho, Jalui, Vipula all say poor. I'm going to defend Yuki for a bit and just say, you know what? I think he's got potential, and I don't say that out of nothing. If you watched F2 last year, the most promising driver was probably Tsunoda, because even though Mick got more points, Mick was in his second season. In his first year, Mick finished P9. As a rookie in his first year, Tsunoda finished P3 for 15 points off Mick as a rookie, ahead of Schwartzman, Zhou, etc., Mazepin, blah, blah, blah. So I feel as though Tsunoda deserved to be in F1 this year. But this year has been poor. I mean, guys, I agree with all of you. I want to put him in average. I do. But he's 3 points ahead of Russell. He's made a lot of mistakes, but on top of that, I think his pace isn't quite there. For example, in Imola, he crashed out, but he had pace. But now, his pace doesn't seem to be quite where it was when the year began, maybe, perhaps because of confidence. And what I would say is, that AlphaTauri is built for Pierre Gasly. As much as, we always say that the Red Bull is built for Max. That's the only team. That AlphaTauri has been Gasly's car for a long time, so it's tough for Yuki, but I can't be kind of unfair. It has to be Yuki and Paul. I think that, frankly, Yuki's got more potential than Lawson or Deruvla, whilst Vips has been very unlucky, but I think that for now you have to put Yuki and Paul. Vic, we will agree. Now, guys, Fernando Alonso the this will be interesting. Fernando Alonso, where do you guys put him? Bavika says Alonso solid, and I want to say right away, Alonso's not going on solid. I'm going to say that straight away. Druho says Alonso solid. Okay. Let's see what the rest of you guys say. I'm going to say right away, Alonso's very good minimum for me. In the standings, if we look very quickly, he's P10, and unlike other drivers like Ocon or Seb around him, or even Gasly, he's had no kind of podium where he's got lots of points at once. He's comfortably ahead of Ocon. And you have to give context. He's been out of F1 for 2 years. Out of F1 for 2 seasons. And he's come back to a team that isn't really familiar to him, in this car. New machinery. And even though in qualifying he hasn't been there, really since Baku, his race pace has been pretty incredible, to be honest. Nudi saying solid. Vic, very good. Nicola, very good. Ollie says Alonso is poor. Okay. Linus, and I think that's the thing. Alonso's for sure been better than Seb this year. Significantly more points in a similar car with having been out of F1. And also, I think that what I would say is, at Russia, Ocon claimed that his pace difference was because, unlike in other rounds, he didn't use Alonso's setup. And you kind of overestimate how important it'll be for Alpine to use Alonso's setup, because his understanding of the car will make them faster next year. I don't think it'll be wise for Alpine to kind of have Ocon as their most experienced driver for next season, kind of giving data. And that's why Haas, I think, are in trouble next year, because they've got two rookies who can't really help develop that car. But anyway, Alonso to me is very good. Some of you are saying solid. Quite a few of you. Mata says very good. Hello, very good. And I think, in terms of pure performances, he didn't start the year great, but frankly, since Baku, he's been so good. He hasn't quite had the podium yet, but frankly, he's deserved it. Even in Russia, they didn't show it on the race, but he was overtaking Perez, Ricciardo in the wet. So on a slippery track on dry tires, great pace, especially in the race. And given that he's so old and people were saying that he shouldn't come back, I think that he's in very good. Noodle, for me, he's a step up from Seb, personally, but it's up for debate. Ocon, guys, now, let me know. To be fair, Bavika, to be fair, I understand that, I still think that it's very good. I feel as though it's kind of being underrated this year. I kind of feel that it's being a bit underrated. But now, guys, Ocon, who, bear in mind, has had one more year in that car than Alonso, and who has been out of F1 for 2 years. So Ocon has had the advantage. And Bavika, I think I agree with you there. I think that Ocon has, of course, had a standout win. But besides that, given the context, he's not had the best of seasons compared to Alonso. Mate, mate, thank you so much for the sub. Guys, if you're new, please subscribe. But I don't think that he's had the best of seasons compared to Alonso. He's had a good year, but given that he's half Alonso's age, and he's got more experience in that car, and that car is kind of more familiar to him. Because, guys, don't forget, it was in, I think, France that Alonso got his kind of personalized steering input to kind of help him with the car. And since then, Ocon's had no response for Alonso, really. I mean, of course, he had good qualifying in Hungary, but apart from Hungary, Alonso's pretty much been faster since then. Some saying solid, some saying average. Juho says solid, Mate average, Zeta solid, Fracture solid or average, and I think that all of us agree it's average solid. Mihao, thank you so much for the sub. I'm going to put him in solid because, guys, as I mentioned at the start of the stream, it's a combination of results and performance. His performance to me is borderline solid average, But when you think of the fact that he's won a race, that boosts his performances. And even though he's not got more points than Alonso, he's, I'd say, considerably behind Alonso. He's head of both Alpines. So I'd say that he's doing a good job in terms of results, in terms of points, and a decent job in terms of performance. So I would say the Ocon solid is fair. I would say for now Ocon solid is fair. Yeah, I would say that for now Ocon is solid. Now, guys, Carlos Sainz Jr., the smooth operator, the man who fans are complaining doesn't get enough love from the F1 media. Guys, in chat, let me know what you think of Carlos Sainz Jr. Where would you put him? Where does he rank in your own personal lists? Because, of course, even though we'll disagree, it's about being respectful and trying to understand why people don't agree in that way. But guys, by the way, thank you so much for being here. I don't say it too many times, but honestly, it means so much that you guys are watching and interacting with me. It makes my life so much better after very stressful uni life, etc. So thank you so much for being here. And hopefully I'll see you all tomorrow and in the future. But I think that we'll all reach a consensus here. Broccoli, very good. Hello Hat, very good. Bavika, Ollie's Fran, Town, Molly, Vic, very good. Alejandro says, I think he's the same as Vettel and clearly better level than Stroll. I would say that Sainz has been better than Vettel. And guys, let's not forget, when the year began, people were saying Sainz would only be number 2. Sainz won't be able to match Leclerc. And as it stands, he has more points than his team. And now, of course, we'll go on to Leclerc and his issues and his season. But the facts are, Carlos Sainz has joined a new team. And let's not forget that last year, Seb in that other Ferrari was struggling so much compared to Leclerc. Even though, of course, Seb, I think, improved as the year went on, and you, of course, got the Turkey podium. Sainz at a new team has been very quick, and despite making mistakes himself, has been able to lead that team in terms of points, and is part of the reason that Ferrari are fighting McLaren in the constructors. So to me, it's very good for Carlos. No questions asked there. Fracture, I agree. Alejandro, that's a good point. He has changed teams, but I still think his spin in Imola, his crash in Italy, his spin or his mistake in Baku. Sainz has made mistakes, so I'm not going to ignore his kind of I would say issues, but he has had a very good year. And Molly, I agree. I would say though, Molly, that fans appreciate him quite a lot from what I see, but maybe F1's broadcast for some reason never show him, and I think maybe media outlets don't recognize him. But Molly, I agree. But fans, I think, do. I would say at least in large part recognize him. And Victor, I agree. I think for his first year in Ferrari, massive pressure, of course, as with any team. But Ferrari, of course, has that kind of extra bravado. Sainz has been very good. Next is Charles Leclerc, and I'm also going to put him in very good. Now. Jalui says solid. Sniper says very good. And what I would say is, I don't think it's fair to say that Leclerc is behind Sainz purely based on luck. He has made mistakes. For example, Russia, even though he was a bit unlucky, he lost points there because he didn't come in when his team could have. So that was his choice, and whilst, of course, in the rain it's hard to predict, that was his mistake. In Monaco, yes, he was unlucky that he didn't start the race, but he also crashed himself. So even though on some regards, yes, he was unlucky, he still made the mistake. And without his crash, maybe Sainz beats his lap. Maybe Verstappen beats his lap. So even though he has dropped points because of bad luck, he has made mistakes. Even in Austria, some say racing incident, I would still argue that frankly he turned in on Gasly. So I think that he has dropped points because of his own mistakes. Vic, Broccoli, Hello Hat, Juho, Molly, they play all legends. All of us agreeing very good, and I think that's fair. I think with less mistakes, it's elite, but he has made too many mistakes to be any higher than very good. I'm not going to say solid because he has been amazing this year. Pole in 2 races, and in Silverstone, amazing Grand Prix, leading for basically every lap in the third best car. Fantastic race. And Mete, I agree. I do feel as though Leclerc should have been a bit more consistent, and I think that's a weakness that we'll have to kind of iron out for the future. But still, an amazing year for the Monegasque. Next up, guys, Lando Norris. I wonder where we're going to put him. I would say poor for Lando. Just terrible season. Ricciardo's dominating him. No consistency, no standout results or podiums. Just a poor year for Lando. A poor year. Of course, I'm joking. Oh yeah, Vipla, yeah, the Ferrari is probably the 4th best car, but anyway. Yeah, of course, Lando. I was joking there. He is elite. Very, very easy. Very, very easy. Broccoli, Zeta, Vic, Tone, Vic, Molly. It's simply elite for Lando. I mean, look, I do feel like there's sometimes the media don't always kind of. Sometimes I think Lando has bad races, and people don't always kind of point it out, if that makes sense. I think because he's young, sometimes his mistakes are justified. But with that said, and we'll go over to the stats, the statistics. For the first how many rounds? Was it 12 rounds? No, for the first 10 rounds, he scored points. And at that, not just points, top 5 at every single Grand Prix bar Spain. Hungary, unlucky. Belgium, unlucky. I mean, even though, of course, he spun because he spun, it should have probably been red flag conditions. Unlucky. And even then, Holland, for McLaren, still got good points. And of course, P2 in Italy, very good job there. And Russia, I'll be honest, that was his mistake. But overall, he's had an amazing year. Leading McLaren, several podiums. Very, very good. Very, very good season. What I would say is, it hasn't been perfect. There have been mistakes. And I think that as Ricciardo improves for next season, or at least as I expect Ricciardo to improve for next season, he'll have more scrutiny and more pressure. But for now, Lando, elite, leading his team, pretty faultless. He's made some mistakes, but not many, and not major ones that have cost the team too massively, besides maybe Russia staying out. Of course, that was very convoluted. So, elite for not Lando. Dodd for second, I thought that said dad, so Dodd, you kind of gave me a heart attack there. Alejandro, yeah, I agree. What I would say is, and we'll go on to Ricardo. Actually, you know what, guys? You're doing it for me, but Ricardo, in chat. You're doing it for me, but Ricardo. What do we put Ricardo? I'm seeing solids. To me, it's difficult because I feel as though with Ricardo, the Monza win changes things. Before Monza, I would have put him in average, and I agree, Tone, completely. We're thinking the exact same thing. Before Monza, no podium, way behind your teammate in qualifying and race pace. I would have put him in average, but with that Monza win, I'm going to put him in solid. Now, what I would say is we have to add context. We have to add context to his season. We know that he's a very good driver, and whilst arguably maybe him beating Ocon, with Ocon being in his first year, wasn't the biggest test for him, he was still very good last year, 5th overall at Renault. Several podiums or 2 podiums, very consistent. We know how good Ricciardo is. With that said, this season, at a new team, in a car that evidently does not suit his personal driving style, he struggled. And that's understandable. With that said, other drivers have adapted quicker. Sainz at Ferrari. A Ferrari whose second car Seb struggled with, Sainz adapted. And even though he wasn't battering Leclerc, from really round 1 he was respectable pace. And from Imola, even say Portimao, very good pace. Alonso, new team, having been out of F1 for 2 years, by round 5-6, by Baku, France, was quick, and even in Portimao, had fantastic race pace, even on Bahrain going to Q3. I bring up these drivers because, whilst Ricciardo, of course, has had a tough year in adapting, so have others, and his adaptation has been pretty lackluster compared to others so far. With that said, he's at least gotten good points, even though in that car he should be. But in the standings, he's currently P8, which isn't amazing. But if you look at the points, he's just 9 points behind Leclerc. Now, again, that McLaren is probably on balance a faster car than the Ferrari. But the fact remains, his Italy win, a great result, has pushed up his overall points. So he's had a pretty, I would say, an acceptable year in terms of output, and an acceptable year in terms of performance, given the context. Next year, though, I won't be so kind. Next year, if he's 50 points behind Lando, then I'm not going to be as lenient. But for this year, I'm going to put him in solid. This year, I put him in solid. Hello, yeah, I think that post-summer break he's improved. I mean, to be fair, in Sochi, Lando qualified him by 2 seconds, and then the race was far faster, even though, of course, Ricciardo finished ahead. In Belgium before Lando's spin, he wasn't great. I mean, look, I'm not trying to bring him down. I'm just saying that the pace is still not quite there. But Zandvoort, Monza, very encouraging. And though we have seen him kind of go have ups and downs, hopefully we'll see him be more consistent. But still, some very good points so far this year. Now, Max Verstappen in chat, let me know. Juho saying elite, Broccoli saying elite, Zeta saying elite, Noodle saying elite. I think that Max is very clearly here. I'm joking. I mean, it would be quite funny if I put him there just for the memes. But Max is very obviously elite. I mean, it's not really a debate, is it? Second in the standings, but oh, Vipla, I'm Jaden. Guys, by the way, I'm Jaden. Hi. But to review Max's season, he's second in the standings, but he's second in the standings. And if you look at his season, right, second, first, second, first. Baku, bad luck. He can't do anything about that. Win. Britain, bad luck. Can't do much about that. He could have backed hypothetically, but still very unlucky. Hungary could do nothing about that. Belgium, P1. Holland, P1. Italy, controversial racing incident. And Russia, last to second. Now again, as with basically any driver, he's had his mistakes. And Red Bull arguably have had, I think this year, you can debate who's faster, Merc or Red Bull. But frankly, it doesn't matter. Because over the season, they've been, in my view, close enough. That's the driver, strategy, rain, luck, adaptability, all these things, mistakes that actually make the difference. So even though you could say Red Bull's faster, Merc is faster, frankly to me it's close enough that it's down to Max and Lewis. And the fact that Max is still just 3 points off Hamilton, or so how many points is it? Is it 3 points? Sorry. The fact that Max is just 2 points behind Lewis, despite all of his bad luck, great season from him. Fantastic season. Checo. But guys, by the way, if you're new, please do subscribe. Thank you so much for being here so far. I appreciate you massively. But Perez, I know will be controversial. I know Perez will divide opinion. I know that Perez has got people thinking differently, has got different schools of thought at the forefront. I know that people disagree with me on what I've said about Perez in the past. And ultimately, this comes down to many factors. Many reasons can influence your rating of a driver and your perception of them. But Checo Perez, to me, has not had a great year. But before I give my ranking, I want to see what you guys think. I want to read some of your arguments and just kind of get the lay of the land for where you guys are kind of perceiving him so far this year. But for sure, Perez, I mean, you know what, I'll get to it in a second, but first, I want to see your comments. I'll just get up my phone again, so that I can see what all of you guys say. So, thank you so much for your interactions. Noodle, average. Juho, Oli, Sandro, average. Broccoli, Teon, I mean, pretty much everyone saying average. Some saying solid. And look, it's a similar thing with Ricardo. I understand that he's at a new team. I understand that there'll be an adapting phase. But with that said, if you believe that Checo Perez is a top 5 driver in the grid or one of F1's best drivers, then he adapts better than this. Look at the standings, guys. He is closer to Russell than he is to his teammate. Verstappen has got double Checo's points. And even though Perez has been unlucky, so has Verstappen. Verstappen's lost maybe 50 points due to bad luck. Has Perez also lost 50 points to bad lucks? Maybe. Maybe he's lost 30. Maybe he's lost 70. Even if you're kind of say, you know what, because of bad luck, Perez has lost 60 points. He'd still be way off Verstappen. 2 podiums in the best car, or the joint best car is not good enough. And let's analyze his performances one by one, guys, and go in depth here. Bahrain, unlucky, good recovery. Imola, good qualifying, but in the race he makes the mistake. That isn't good enough. Portimao, okay-ish. I think that he had okay time management, but again, behind all of his rivals, nothing special. Spain, 5th place, behind behind his rivals, not good enough. Baku, and here's the annoying thing, guys. At Baku, at France, I was thinking, okay, Because in Baku, he had amazing race pace. He was matching Verstappen, and if he had a better pit stop, maybe he overcuts Max. Fantastic pace in the race. France again, not as good as Baku, but very good solid pace, beating Bottas. At this point, I was thinking, okay, we're going to see him take off. But then the Austria Grand Prix, several mistakes with other drivers, several lackluster performances, qualifying poorly again. And look, I'll put it this way. If you qualify 7/10 behind your teammate, in the race, you're going to be faster. I mean, even though in the pace, Perez's race pace looks okay because he passes, say, the McLarens or the Ferraris, Checo often passes cars that he should already be ahead of. Checo passing Leclerc doesn't prove good race pace. Checo beating Bottas proves that he has good race pace. And to me, the race pace narrative has kind of gotten too far. I think that he's better in the race than qualifying, but even in the race, his pace has been questionable. Britain, again, in a sprint race, silly mistake. Poor qualifying before the sprint, and in the race, couldn't get past Gasly. Not good enough. Hungary, unlucky, but again, Belgium. He was unlucky that he spun off in some regards because it was very wet, but still, spinning on the formation lap, not great. Holland, people gave him driver of the day. Guys, if you're getting knocked out in Q1 and your teammates taking pole, that's terrible. And was he a bit unlucky? Yes, but frankly, his banker lap should have been enough to go through that day. His banker lap, his first lap should have been enough to avoid elimination. And did he go up into P8? Yes, but P8 in a Red Bull, is that impressive? And guys, don't forget, in the first stint, I think on lap 4 or I'm not sure where it was, but early in the race, he locked up and flat spotted his hard tyre. That compromised his race, he had to come in early, so he could have been even higher without that. Italy, again, unlucky with the penalty, but not amazing pace, to be completely honest, poor qualifying. And Russia, here's the thing, he had okay race pace, but Max, who started from the back, was right behind him. So, to me, it has to be solid. I mean, I'm tempted to say average, but I think it's not fair to put him amongst these guys, so I'm going to say solid. Honestly, for Checo, I expected him more. Lando's Milkman says average, Wild says solid. Noodle, that's the thing. I feel as though I would call him overrated, but I would say that Perez gets more, I would say, excuses than most drivers. Mate, this season I wouldn't put Perez ahead of Stroll in terms of performance. Perez is 120 points behind his teammate. Stroll has been amazing, but he's 10 points off Seb. Of course, you know the Astons don't score as many points, so relatively it's different, kind of in terms of the points proportion. But still, this year, Perez hasn't kind of distinguished himself as a very good driver. He's been good enough, but even then, in the constructors, if you go to the constructors, Mercedes are 33 points clear. That's predominantly from the Bottas-Perez gap, and in a minute we'll go into Bottas. But Bottas, he's had bad luck too. And actually, speaking of Bottas, and that's a very nice segue. First of all, thank you guys so much for watching. We're almost here. If you're new, please like, subscribe, and hit the bell so that when I go live, you're all watching. Why do we put Valtteri Bottas first? Not Lewis first. I'll put him at the end. Valtteri Bottas first. Valtteri Bottas. Where do we put him? Where do we rank the Flying Finn who will join Alfa Romeo next season? I'm curious to see what all of you guys think. To me, it's interesting because Valtteri has, to me, had a very Valtteri year. In the sense that he shows in qualifying that he can be close to Lewis, but ultimately when it comes down to it, in the race, he isn't that guy. And look, he has good performances. Monza, it was a very good performance, fantastic job from him. He was very unlucky in Monaco after an amazing qualifying. But to me, again, the issue is that it's not consistent. He has good races, but he also has some shocking Grand Prix. Imola, I mean, even before his crash, he was running P9 in the best car, and Russell and Kimi were catching him. Baku, setup issues or not, you can't finish P12 in the Mercedes when there are several retirements up ahead. Hungary, his mistake. So to me, it's solid. Now, what I would say is, without the mistakes, I'd put him up here because he's ahead of Perez, so in that regard, he's doing his job. But again, he hasn't won a race yet. And Broccoli, I would say that he's ahead of Perez, for sure. He's ahead of Perez. But in terms of just, I would say, like overall ranking, he's solid. He's approaching very good. And frankly, I would say Bottas is at the top of solid, and Checo is at the very bottom, very bottom. And Checo is frankly average category. So that's I agree. He's not good, but I would say that he is around there in the solid. And Albert, I agree. I think that he has been better than Perez, but I still, as I said, he's top of solid. Perez is at the bottom. Juho, I mean, you know what? Maybe Perez is average this year. I don't know. Perhaps I'm afraid of his fan base attacking me. I don't know. At the end, guys, after the Hamilton one, I'll maybe adjust a few things, but for now, I'll keep it at solid. But now, guys, final one. Lewis Hamilton. What do we put him? I think that we're all going to agree here. I'll say this first of all. It hasn't been his best season. He has made some mistakes. Baku, obviously. Britain, to me, was a racing incident. I'm not going to blame him for that too much. I think his main error this year was Hungary. Imola, he was a bit lucky with the red flag. That kind of saved him. But at the same time, he has had some very good Grand Prix. It hasn't been his best season, to be honest. It has not been his best year at all. It has not, truth be told. But I'm still going to put him at elite just because if it was wrong to not have him there. As I said, it's a combination of a result and performance. His performance hasn't quite been elite, but he is leading the standings. And Zeta, I agree. And Noodle, all of you guys, I agree. He really could be 40 points ahead of Max. If in Imola, if in Hungary, he just doesn't, not Hungary, I can't speak. If in Baku, he wins that race as he should, 25 points cushion. At the same time, in Hungary, he had poor strategy from the team. Merc were fast asleep. Russia, even though it's a lottery in these conditions, he did a very, very good call that he deserves credit for coming into the pits when he did. Bahrain, great race. Same for Spain. So I would say, in terms of pure performance, very good. But because he's in first in the standings, I'd say elite. I think I'll leave it at that. I think that, Perez is questionable to average, but I'll leave that solid just because I think that Red Bull is very hard to handle. But I think other than that, it's a pretty fair tier list. I'm not going to lie, guys. I think I'm pretty happy with this. Other than that. So, guys, I want to say, thank you all so much for watching. As a uni student, life is tough right now. Life is tough. But to see all of you here in stream, Mate, Zeta, Drew, Albert, Noodle, Taun, Thick Ounce, Broccoli, Comment, Fracture, Vipla, Jalui, you're all legends. Thank you so much. You honestly make me so happy. I'll be live again tomorrow. I'll be live every single day, guys, to try and give you all the best content. Please, in the comments, so not a live chat, in the comments, leave me any ideas or kind of video or live stream suggestions. Please hit the like button if you're new, subscribe, and hit the bell so that when I do go live, you're all notified, because I'm live every day at around this time. So again, thank you so much for watching. Have a blessed day. You're all the best. Muchas gracias. Adios. Guys, take care of yourselves. Thank you so much.